Here we go. We are live. Welcome to Real Estate Investing with Brent Daniels, where we are talking about everything when it comes to wholesaling real estate, investing in real estate, and building wealth. And we know here on this channel, on this show, that the most proven path to financial freedom is finding discounted property. All right, that is an absolute fact. And I want to talk to you right now. Whoever needs to hear this, you can do this. You 100% can do this. 10 years ago, I couldn't even get a checking account. That's how terrible my credit was. I gave back 5 properties. I gave back 2 cars. I gave back countless credit cards. And from this business, from wholesaling real estate, I was able to dig my way out. Not to mention that I had a $700,000 plus judgment against me for an office lease. I am telling you, this business is the one that you have been looking for. This business is real. This business is everlasting. And this business will absolutely impact every part of your life. All right. Your financial future is built on the principles that we're going to be talking about today when it comes to finding and working with distressed property owners and doing these wholesale transactions. Now, when I was starting out, I was so nervous about the whole process. I was so nervous. I didn't understand. There wasn't a roadmap for me to follow so that I felt confident looking around every corner and every next step. I was always concerned. I was always apprehensive. I was always kind of anxious and kind of stressed out because I was hoping, oh, please let this close. Please make this happen. Please let this opportunity not slip through my fingers, right? And that's why today this episode is so critical, because I'm going to give you the step-by-step checklist so you know every part of a wholesale transaction. That way you can go and you can just check them right as you go. Boom, 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 boom. You're going to check the boxes and it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. All right. But before we get going, let's look at this graphic here. Let's look at this again. We've pulled this up before. This is building a successful business. All right. It starts with planning, goal setting, doing the research, taking the action, and then scaling. All right. But for this episode right now, for the next 20 minutes that I go through these 17 steps, the planning, the goal setting, you've already done that. Here's the research so that you can take action. That's the point. I want you to be able to feel the wind behind your back, right? So that you are moving forward and taking action, being proactive in your business every single day, because this is life-changing. Once you get this process down and you get that certainty and you feel that you can do this every single day, everything opens up. The opportunities open up. We know that finding discounted properties opens up everything when it comes to real estate investing. It is the foundation of our business, is finding discounted properties. So let's go through these steps, okay? Right here, we're going to pop this up and we're going to start going there. There's 17 steps, and don't let this be overwhelming to you, okay? Don't let this really feel like there's so many parts to this that it's hard to understand, because we're going to break down each one here. And just bear with us. We've got some technical difficulties. Sometimes I'm going to be on. Sometimes the list will be on. Hopefully we can do it and have both of us on at the same time, but we're going to go through this. The first part is you got to find a list. You got to have a list that you are target. Out of all the properties that we are going after, all the properties that are in your marketplace, you need to filter it down into the most likely to do business with you, the people that are truly motivated, the people that have stress. This property is stressing them out for one reason or another. Maybe it's just emotional stress. Maybe it's financial stress. Maybe it's just they just can't keep up with the property and they're just done with it. They just want to be absolutely hands off. They want to sell it as is. They want a cash offer. They want to move on from this property. But it starts with the list. If you go after everybody, it's going to take so much time. The fact is, the national statistics tell us 6 to 10% of our market is in distress. Our real estate market is in distress at all times. These are the people that we're going after. All right. These are and listen, on this channel, we break down lists. We pull lists. On this show, we pull lists. We break down the lists, okay? Whether it be probate, whether it be tired multifamily landlords, whether it be tired landlords, whether it be pre-foreclosure or inherited properties, or just the run-of-the-mill driving for dollars, right? Just properties that are on the street that are showing distress because the property owners just can't keep up with the repairs of that property. But number one is you have to target the list. All right. That is so absolutely critical. Now, some people might say, what about mass media? What about, and the beautiful thing is in juxtaposition of what I'm saying here, at the top of the hour, I'm going to bring on two guys that are going to be talking about mass media, and it's going to absolutely blow your mind because they're getting 10 to 1. They're spending $1, making 10 on their marketing, and we're going to bring them on. It's going to be really exciting at the top of the hour. But still, you're still targeting a list. You're still going after the distressed property owners with your message. So the first thing is target your list. 80% of people do their first wholesale deal from driving for dollars. It's that simple. Find ugly houses, talk to the owner, get them under contract, and then you have all the different exit strategies open to you. Okay, so number one is get the list. Get the list. That's where you start. Number two is you have to make contact. All right, and that happens in two ways. Only two ways. Either you call them, you go in front of them, you knock on their door, you call them, or they call you, right? They could call you from a bandit sign. They could call you from advertising. They could call you from a referral. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that people can call you. But remember, when people are calling you, it's on their schedule, not on yours. That's why we promote and push to be as proactive as possible. Get to the door or pick up the phone and call these people as soon as possible. Because listen, if you are setting your schedule and you're being proactive every single day, you have a huge advantage. You get to control your calendar. You're having these conversations on your schedule. But either way, you need to make contact with them and you need to have a quality conversation with these property owners. What does that mean? That means that your tone of voice, your pacing, the words that you're saying, the way that you're building trust and a relationship there. That's the start. That is the part of that quality conversation part that is absolutely critical. So number one, get the list. Number two, make contact and have quality conversations. Number three is we have to pre-qualify them. This is one of the biggest mistakes that I see as people are getting into this business and really bringing a lot of energy and a lot of enthusiasm, but that gets stamped down a little bit when they go on appointments with people that'll never do business with them or aren't truly deals. And that's because they aren't pre-qualified. We've set it up a zillion times on this channel. You need to pre-qualify based on the 4 pillars: condition of the property, timeline to sell that property, their motivation, and their price. Pre-qualify them 100% of the time. All right, pre-qualifying. By the way, this whole checklist is going to be available for you to download, ttpinsider.com. ttpinsider.com. It is going to be, we're going to have the checklist, the PDF put up there today so that you can literally just go through this as you have a lead and make sure that you're checking all these boxes and make sure that everything goes smooth. So pre-qualify them 100% of the time. Number 4 is due diligence. This is when you determine, is this a deal or not a deal, right? This is when you are comping the properties. This is when you are seeing, is the price that the seller wants for this property based on its condition a reasonable a price that I can offer, right? This is when we're pulling these properties. We comp properties on this show live. It's part of the due diligence to understand, is this a deal or not a deal, and how big of a deal it is. All right, absolutely critical is making sure that you do your due diligence. But what most people do is they make contact with somebody, they do a ton of due diligence, they don't pre-qualify them, and then all of a sudden they're doing comps for properties that'll never, ever, ever work with them, ever do business with them. And that's what clogs up the system. It clogs it up, all right? So take these in order. Pre-qualify them, then do your due diligence. You want to get to work when you think that there is a likelihood that they will work with you. Number 5 is to follow up, follow up, follow up. The statistics show it takes about 90 days from the first time that you talk to them to the time that you close and get paid. Did you hear me? 90 days. That is like your runway. You've got a 90-day runway if you talk to somebody now. Now listen, we've closed deals in 2 days before. Let's be honest, okay? We've closed big deals in 2 days, right? But the average is 90 days. I want to set the expectation so that when you do pop those ones that are a week, 2, 3, a month from the first conversation, that's like bonus time. But I want to set the expectation so that you're keeping the ball rolling. You're keeping your enthusiasm and energy and motivation for this business high. All right. So follow up. What we do is we call them 3 times. Call, text, voicemail 3 times as soon as we start working with that lead. Boom, boom, boom. And we follow that up the next week. We follow it up the next week. And we're just trying to make that contact so that we can get in front of them and have a good conversation and make sure that we are there when they're ready to make their decision to sign on the dotted line. I don't know if it's a dotted line. I think it's just a straight line, but just sign that purchase agreement. All right. Next is the appointment. Woo! The appointment, virtually or in person. Now, listen, guys. If this is your first time watching this, or maybe you're watching it on Instagram, there is a whole download in TTP Insider that is your perfect offer presentation. All right. It'll literally step you through this presentation, exactly how you want this, how you should be working this so that, one, you look professional and confident, but also that you bring that certainty and likability to that appointment so that you can get that signed. But remember, going in that appointment, we don't want to go in that appointment if they're unpre-qualified, right? We don't want to go and give them an offer if their timeline is 6 months from now, right? They're just going to leverage that offer. So going on that appointment is absolutely critical. Plus, it gives you the opportunity to get in front of these people, right? And to really understand what is going on, kind of live in their skin a little bit and understand and feel for them and have that empathy and bring that to that appointment so that you can really solve their problem, right? That's when you start making a difference in the community. That's when you start really uplifting the neighborhoods and the areas that need some love. Maybe they're just older and they need renovation, right? That's what's exciting about this business. It's so exciting. But the appointment is critical. Getting out there and understanding what to do on those appointments is absolutely fundamentally critical. And going through there and not tearing them apart and ripping them apart, there is a very solid plan. Make sure you download that at ttpinsider.com. It's the perfect offer presentation. All right. Next, we've got the offer presentation. This is where you are going out there and you are signing the contract in front of them and asking them to sign. Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Asking them to sign a purchase agreement, that's what you have to do to get people to take action, right? You have to first pre-qualify them, lead follow-up with them, build that trust with them, and then ask them to sign and get that contract signed. That is the 6th step. The 7th step is that offer presentation, making sure that you're sitting down and you're going through all of the details of the purchase agreement. And it's really not overwhelming, right? You're talking about they're the seller, you're the buyer, here's the price, here's the earnest deposit, here's how long the inspection is, and here's when we close, right? And just going through all that so that they feel confident moving forward and signing that purchase agreement. Make sure that you know what the contract says, because some people just download a go and they're just like, here you go. No, make sure that you go through that, do a little bit of homework, get that contract in your mind, understand, is there little things in the contract that might pop up that you're not uncertain about, and work on those so that you know how to respond. All right, there you go. And once you do all those things, you get an accepted contract. Woo! That's what we're talking about. That's what we ring the bell for on this show. That's what we get so excited about, is getting that commitment. You are showing your commitment to that property owner. They are showing the commitment to you, okay? Getting the contract signed. And I am telling you, There is. When you are building momentum in this, when you're getting contracts signed, oh my gosh, it is a shot of dopamine like you wouldn't believe. It is incredible. All this work that you've done, all this hunting that you've been doing, all this pre-qualifying that you've doing, all this comping that you've done, all of it comes all the way down to that signed purchase agreement that you're holding in your hot little hands, and you are ready to do something special with that. And then it just opens it up. Once you have that property under contract and control the purchase of that property, now we start marketing that contract. Okay. Now, if you're doing a traditional wholesale, all right, the next step, right, is we start, first let's open up. Number 9 is open up. Put your earnest money in. And this is a question actually that I get a lot is put your earnest money in. I don't care if it's $10. I don't care if it's $100. Get it into the title company and make sure that it's secure. Some states you have to make sure that you put in some money. Some of them you don't have to have the earnest money deposit in. Make sure that you're doing that research. But I always put in the earnest money so that the title company knows I'm serious, so that when the seller calls up that title company and says, hey, did they deposit the earnest money? And they say yes, they are feeling like this is going to go through. All right. Step number 9, deposit your earnest money. And then we start marketing that contract to your cash buyers. All right. This is when we start going out there and we start picking up the phone and we start calling all those agents that are doing flips in that zip code. That's when we go and we reach out to people in the real estate investing groups. That's where we go and we look at all the cash buyers that we pull from ttpdata.com, powered by PropStream. We look at all those cash buyers and we start reaching out to them and seeing if they want this opportunity. And when you're starting out, you need to be like your hair is on fire. You need to be calling and texting and emailing and doing whatever you can to get the word out that you have this opportunity. All right. It's not just send it out to a couple people and hope and wish and pray that it's going to work out. It is getting relentless as you were on prospecting and finding that deal. You need to be relentless on selling that deal. All right. And once you get it in front of enough people, you need to make sure that oftentimes the cash buyer needs to see the property. They need to see the property, right? So the next step is scheduling that cash buyer inspection. Now, what I highly suggest is as soon as you get through number 8 there on contract acceptance, when you're sitting there and you're signing that contract with the property owner, you say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I am going to need to have the property open for a couple hours, 2 or 3 days from now, right? So if you sign it on Monday, put it for Thursday or Wednesday, get a couple days so it gives you enough of a runway to be able to get enough cash buyers interested in this deal, all right? And if you give the expectation to the property owner. They need to know that it's going to be crazy. It's going to be like a freeway running through here. There's going to be a lot of people. I'm going to get them in and out as soon as possible so that we know if we're moving forward or not. And I want to do that as quick as possible. So does Thursday at 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock work? Set that expectation, set that schedule so that the owner knows that people are going to be coming in. My business partners, other buyers in the market, contractors, whoever you want to come through. Remember, you know what I mean? Your cash buyer, all these people coming through, checking out the property. Now, sometimes you can sell these properties sight unseen, which is fantastic, but I like scheduling that appointment early because you can always cancel it if you sell it faster. Does that make sense? So make sure that you're scheduling that cash buyer inspection and you're not just like, oh yeah, I got to come by. Oh yeah, I got to come by. Oh yeah, I got to stop by. And then all of a sudden you're going back to the property 4 or 5 times and the property owner's like, wait, I didn't want I didn't want to keep opening up the house all the time. I just wanted this to go as smooth as possible. Now, this is obviously if it's tenant occupied and owner occupied, or just an owner, it's just an occupied property. If it's a vacant property, what I highly suggest is you get permission from the owner of the property to install a contractor lockbox. You can buy these at Lowe's. You can buy them at Home Depot. They're just mechanical lockboxes. You put the key in, you put it on the hose bib or the front door, and the cash buyers go. They check out the property, and they see if they're going to make it. And they make a decision whether or not they're going to buy it or not. All right? And that's what it is. Set the expectations with the property owner. Make sure that they understand that there's going to be a lot of people coming through. And if it's a vacant, see if you can get a lockbox on it as a convenience. We want to make sure that during our inspection period, we get access to the property. Can I install this lockbox? Are you comfortable with that? And hopefully they are. Most of the time they are if the property is vacant. And that way you can give, it's just go ahead and go through and get your buyers into that deal. All right? Awesome. Next, assign the contract. Ha! Assign the contract. Pick the buyer that you trust the most to do business with. All right? And sometimes it's not the one that gives you the most, right? This is when you get that processing, when you're able to see and have conversations. Who is communicating the best? Who has the best reputation? Who's ready to deposit the $5,000 non-refundable earnest deposit to the title company in exchange for me assigning this deal to them, right? That is so exciting. You get the opportunity to pick who you want to work with. And as you do more and more and more opportunities, as you do more and more wholesale deals, you're going to get into a nice rhythm of understanding, are these people going to get it to the finish line? Because nothing is worse than picking the wrong cash buyer that has no intention of purchasing that property, that all they want to do is blast it out to their own database of buyers, and they don't do it until the very last minute, and it adds a lot of stress to the system. All right? Go with the people that are buying properties first. If somebody has a really good reputation for disposing properties in your marketplace, then rock and roll. All right? Go for it. Use them. As long as they can get that deal done and they're putting in their earnest, then I'm okay with that. All right. Even if they make a little bit on top, that's great. As we're building up our cash buyer database, we don't want to do as much as that. We want to sell it directly to the cash buyers. But as you're building it up, if somebody has a bigger database than you, that's okay. You can squat up. They can help walk you through the process. They make it really smooth. I'm okay with that. All right. The little daisy chain that they're going to do, I'm fine with that if they get the deal done and they're communicating and they're playing by your rules, which means getting access to the property at the times that you've scheduled, making sure that they are getting everything over to the title company that they need so that they can close that deal on time so you can keep your promise to that property owner that you close and they get their money on the date that you committed to on that purchase agreement. All right? Boom. Assign the contract with the buyer. Boom. You are rocking and rolling. Next, make sure that they deposit their earnest money. Listen. If you want to know if your buyer's serious about this or if they're just kind of like, I'm going to commit to the deal and have it assigned, but I'm going to try to sell it, or I'm not really sure if I'm going to close on this deal. Listen, a lot of companies are programmed to say, yes, I want that deal, and get the assignment so that they have control, and they don't put their earnest in, and then they go, oh, you know what? The numbers just don't work for me. Go ahead and sell it to somebody else. And then all of a sudden you're in that whirlwind again when you're reselling it. All right? So if you want to make sure that they're going to commit to that deal, they need to deposit that $5,000 non-refundable earnest money to the closing attorney or the title company within like the next morning, right? If it's not in before noon the next day, preferably that same day that they commit to the deal, something's up. Something feels a little off. Why aren't they moving as fast? Why aren't they as motivated to make sure that this goes really smooth? It's a big red flag. You need to get on them. If they're not going to get that earnest money in, then you got to move on and sell it to somebody that's ready to go now. Okay? Absolutely critical. Make sure that they get their earnest money into the title company closing attorney. All right? The next thing is, beautiful thing is between 13 and 14, there's this beautiful time where the title company does their research, pulls all the liens on the property, pulls all the information about the seller, makes sure that this property is clear to close, which means basically that the price that is agreed to on the contract pays off all the liens. All right? There might be some liens that they didn't know about. There might be some things, kind of bubbling to the surface once they do a title report on that property. You just need to make sure that that gets a clear to close, which basically means we can pay off all the liens. We've got all the information. The title company does all that work. Listen to me. The title company does all that work. Our job is to find deals. Title company, closing attorney's job is to organize the title report on that, making sure that it gets a clear to close, organizing the cash buyer to come in with their funds and manages all the money, and making sure that the seller gets them all the information they need in a timely manner to be able to transfer that deed from the seller to your cash buyer. All right? That is so great. Let them do their job between 13 and 14. Once you get that clear to close, oh my gosh, you're almost there. You were almost there. The next thing you do is just check to make sure that the cash buyer's funds get there on time, right? Make sure that they are wiring. Make sure that you're communicating with them, and you know that they're getting that money into the title company closing attorney before the closing date. Okay, because that's going to allow it to close on time, which is critical, which lends really nicely to building a good reputation for you and your business. So make sure that the buyer's funds are there. All right. And that's a critical little piece, because sometimes we get anxious. Sometimes we get nervous. You're like, oh, I hope this closes. Don't just assign this deal and then hope and pray and just wait for your check. You need to be in constant communication with that closing attorney and escrow company, title and escrow company, making sure that they're getting the clear to close, making sure that the seller is filling out all the documents that they need, making sure that the buyer is communicating, making sure that their funds are getting into the deal. And 16, baby, close that deal. Close the deal. You don't have to be there. You're out of the transaction. There's nothing for you to do. All right? You just close the deal. Get that deal closed. Make sure that the buyer's funds get in. Make sure that the sellers get in. They don't have to meet at a table together and close it like it's old school. A lot of times they do mobile notaries, and the seller's here and the buyer's there, and everything's going on, and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to sign anything. Only thing you have to do is make sure that they are signing their closing documents, getting the funds in, and bam, you close that deal. And now it's time. Pop that bottle of champagne or that bottle of water. I don't know, whatever. Depends on your lifestyle. But I mean, it is time to celebrate. And then 17 is get paid. And that's the best part, right? Get paid. Get that check. Pick up that check from title. Have them mail that check or bring that check to you. Have them wire it directly into your account. I am telling you, there's not a feeling like it. There's not a feeling like it, knowing that from nothing, from the ether, from the air, you went out and you found an opportunity, and you grabbed that opportunity, and you took that opportunity all the way to the finish line, and the receipt that you did a great job, the receipt that you provided value to your community, the receipt that you are an entrepreneur and doing this business and building something special, is that wire into your account. It is that check that you get. And I want that as many times for you as possible. As many times for you as possible. Follow this step by step. I'm telling you, it's if you follow this, boom, 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 make sure all these steps happen, your transactions are going to go way smoother. Absolutely way smoother. Because you're going to feel confident. You're going to know what's happening in these processes. Starts with getting the list, having a conversation, pre-qualifying, following up with that lead, getting the contract signed, opening up escrow, letting the title company do what they do, finding that cash buyer, matching that distressed property owner up with that great cash buyer in your marketplace, making sure that they get all of their funds in, the deal is clear to close, the liens get paid off, and you get a receipt for all of that effort. All of that effort. As many times as possible. Can you imagine? Can you imagine getting that once a month? That 10, 15, 20,000, that 7,500 every month, and then building it to twice a month, once a week, There's people doing it every day. There's people doing it twice a day. What's to stop you from doing it? Seriously. What's to stop you from building that? I just gave you I just gave you the roadmap. That is the roadmap. That is the checklist. You can download it at ttpinsider.com to make sure that you're staying organized with all of your deals, all of your transactions, so that you know that it's going clean. And then the beautiful thing, here's the beautiful thing. When you do start closing those deals and you do start thinking about hiring people, all of a sudden you go through these 17 steps and you determine who's going to do what. This is the roles. These are the roles in your business. This is acquisition manager. This is lead manager. This is disposition manager. This is whoever is going to be comping your properties and doing all this. It's absolutely incredible. You use this roadmap, this checklist, to be able to fit people into specific roles based on their strengths. And now you're scaling. Now you're building. That is the scaffolding, the skeleton of your business is these 17 steps. And you start delegating those to other people. Oh, man. That's why you see people, posting about $1 million businesses or doing 100 deals a year or, starting out and doing incredible amounts of wholesale. And now they're flipping and developing and buying creative deals and they're building their portfolio. It all starts with finding discounted properties and moving them through this process, this 17 steps, and getting that receipt at the end of the day of all your efforts. And I'm telling you, there is not a feeling like it. It can pull you out of any financial distress. It can change your life. It puts lights in your eyes. All of a sudden, your eyes are just lit up. You turn into like Magneto, right? You're like a magnet for people that want to come at you, right? You're like Magneto. Everything's coming at you. All of a sudden, you are bringing all of good energy, all of the optimism, all of the support. Your family, your friends, people, they start seeing that something's different about you. Something is exciting about you. You're doing something that is really, really, really interesting, and people want to know more about it. And that's how you build your team, baby. That's how you build your database. That's how you build your network. Follow these 17 steps, and you will be more successful, and you're going to feel a lot more confident. All right? How are we doing, Mike?
Dude, I haven't heard the old Magneto, hop out of into the deal for a while. That was great. The only thing that you might want to touch on that if you mentioned this, I missed it, but from the time they get the deal under contract to the time that it closes, that 2 to 4 week period, a lot of people drop the ball here as they just kind of ghost the seller. Right. And then other than that, I think we got a bunch of great comments. Let's get the number up on the screen so that people and get some folks calling in.
Okay.
And let's get cracking.
So guys, we are, if you call in, we're going to open up the phone line, 602-671-0147. If you've got a question, I've got the earpiece in, I can hear you. So 602-671-0147. Now at the top of the hour, we're going to pause the calls and the comments and the questions to talk to a couple guys that are going to just blow your face off with their mass marketing approach. So if you're going to call in now. Let's get you on before that time. We got 25 minutes before we start that, but I'm sure we've got some comments in the comments section or some questions. Oh, we've got a call already. We've got Zach. Zach, how are you, buddy?
Hey, how's it going, Brent?
I am just excited. I'm excited to be on here. I'm excited to talk to you. Talk to me, brother.
Yeah, so I have been following you for about a month now. I'm loving all your stuff.
Awesome.
I am getting my generation or my list off PropStream. I'm skip tracing. I'm getting numbers. I'm here in Colorado, and I'm calling through, but it seems like I keep just getting people that are saying, "Oh, you're calling me again. How'd you get my number?"
Sure.
And I feel like I'm running behind someone.
Okay.
And so I'm wanting to go virtual.
Okay.
And I wanted to know practical steps to get there. With those 17 things you just listed.
Yep.
How does it work with if you're not even in the state?
Yeah, I love it. First of all, I would highly suggest that you follow anything that Lauren Hardy is doing. She's the Wholesaling Inc. coach on Virtual Wholesaling, and she is a I mean, she is incredible. She is a superstar in that space. She's got some really great content on her Instagram and YouTube channel and the Wholesaling Inc. YouTube channel. So definitely check out some of those things. But the number one thing is, first, with TTP, if you're just going to be calling, making these calls, grabbing the list, making those calls, Zach, listen, just start calling. Just start testing it out. Right? The first thing, I don't want you to get analysis paralysis where all of a sudden you're trying to set up the whole process before you're getting the leads. Let's lead with a nice pipeline of leads. So what I suggest you do is I suggest if you know what market you're going to go into, you got to pull at least 1,000 addresses and start making those calls. And I would pull those 1,000 addresses as a mix of 3 different lists. Okay. I would probably pull like 350 of each. By the time it filters down, you'll have 1,000, but I would go after tired multifamily owners. I would go after, people that own vacant land, and I would test out just tired landlords in general. Now, that one's going to be more of an uphill battle. But remember, Zach, don't get discouraged when people say, oh, you've called me 1,000,000 times. Because you're going to talk to somebody that's talked to people 1,000,000 times, but now they're ready. Okay? Now they're ready. They're ready, and you're there, and you hit them at the right time. So part of this business is timing. That's why, we build in sacred time into our schedule so that we can be consistent making our calls and being proactive. Right? So don't be too discouraged of people. I would rather people hang up on me fast and be like, no, listen, they're not going to sell to a cash buyer anyway. So now you're just getting closer to the people that will. So don't get too discouraged by that. I don't care if 100 people in a row tell you, because that 101st person could be like, yeah, I'm ready now. And then all of a sudden you're $20,000 into a deal, or making on a deal. And it's just because you stuck with it. So the fact is, if you have quality conversations with enough distressed property owners, you're going to find deals. But I would test it out. And then the next step I would do there is I would partner with a really good up-and-coming, newly licensed real estate agent. If you're going virtually, I would find that real estate agent and I would build a mutual beneficial relationship. I would say, listen, Mr. or Mrs. Agent, I am calling all day long. And I'll tell you what, most people want retail for the property. And if they're ready to go, I'd like to refer those to you. I don't want anything from it, but when I do get a wholesale deal, I need you going on the appointments. I need you to be my legs. I need you to be my eyes. I need you taking those pictures. I need you to help me to open it up when I'm selling the property. Does that feel like a mutually beneficial relationship? And you can build something special there, Zach, for sure. Yep. But awesome. lead with leads. Lead with leads. I mean, imagine this. Imagine you have 5 to 10 traditional listing leads, and then you call up an agent and say, hey, do you want these? And in exchange, can we build a relationship? Woo! That's when the people start getting excited. That's when people start coming and supporting you and working with you, and they want those leads. Okay?
Okay.
Awesome.
That sounds great.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Brent.
Thanks, Zach. Thanks for the call. Also, guys, while you are watching this, if you have this thing hasn't rang yet, okay? Mike, Jesse, I want to ring this bell. I want to bring that energy. Something about a bell ring and just brings energy. It just, boo, right? So if you have locked up a deal, if you have closed a deal, make sure that you post it here in the comments section. I want to celebrate everybody. I don't care where you're at, what market you're in. I want to celebrate you and give you some love and some recognition. So make sure that you post if you have a deal that you've closed.
Dude, we can see your arm just itching to get that bell. But with Zach, so you're saying, don't waste time with, building a website, trying to figure out a CRM, all this other stuff. Just start talking to people and kind of see where you want to go.
Yeah. If you're doing it virtually, you need to build up your pipeline of leads. And then from there, everything else flows. But it's like, oh, I have this train, but I don't have an engine to it. It's just sitting on the tracks.
If-
That
if-
doesn't get you anywhere.
If you
You
go
need
into,
the engine.
If you go into a virtual market, what's a fast, easy, fairly cheap way to test a couple, 2 or 3 lists to see if if it's worth sticking around?
Yeah, I mean, you could pull it. I mean, a couple different things, right? You can literally just build up a list virtually from virtual driving for dollars, right? You get the Deal Machine app. Make sure you use that TTP coupon code because you get the biggest discount. But you get the Deal Machine app. They've got an attachment on Chrome, Google Chrome, that you can drive virtually through Google Maps, click the address, and it adds it to your driving for dollars list. And then from there, you skip trace it, you call them, and you're rocking and rolling. So I always love that. And a lot of people are taking advantage of the beautiful VAs in the Philippines that are doing that work and pulling those for a few bucks an hour. They're pulling those lists for people as they sleep. That's an interesting strategy as well. You can go to Upwork, you can go to Fiverr, you can just Google virtual assistants in the Philippines or wherever you want them to be, and they will. They'll pull up those. If you teach them how to do your driving for dollars, they'll pull those all day long, and you'll have a big list fast, and that's going to give you some really good success. I should have mentioned that to Zach, so hopefully he's watching as well. But I think that he's like ready to chomp at the bit. So usually we pull the list from TTP data. Yep. Jose asks, Brent, what do I tell agents on the phone for them to help me with wholesaling? That's what it is, Jose. I mean, it goes back to what is the benefit for them? The benefit for them is you need to tell them, I'm going hard all day long talking to property owners. When I run across one that doesn't fit what I'm looking for, they want more of a traditional price for their property, can I just refer them to you? I don't want anything. If you have a license, you can make some money on that. You can get referral fees. But I think just off the bat, you can just refer them business and they will feel, as long as you pick the right person, and you're going to have to test it out. You might have to go through 2 or 3 different agents. But as long as they are working that lead and they're going to work for you as your boots on the ground, they're going to get real excited. And when you start showing them the impact of what you do with your business and how much you make and the deals that you find, it blows their minds. They're like, oh my gosh, how do you find these deals? How do you find these properties? I never thought that this could possibly happen. What are you doing? I'm excited. I want to be a part of it. So that's the conversation. Benefit to them, benefit to them. You want to give benefit to agents, give them deals, give them transactions. Because listen, the fact is agents will keep those sellers in their database forever. And then they're starting to work with their friends and family, and they're starting to get one deal turns into 10 for agents. It's incredible. It's a blessing for you to refer those opportunities over to that agent. Great question. Freddie, there we go. 9K deal. Let's go. Freddie closed a 9K deal yesterday. Are you kidding me? Come on, CC. Me and my partner closed a total of 80,000. That's what the K stands for, Mike. 80,000 with JVing with others. Look at this. That's called squatting up. CC, you are an inspiration. I love you. Fantastic. That is incredible. Look at that. Just squatting up.
This is a question from Instagram.
Question from Instagram. Thank you guys for participating here on Instagram. Make sure at the top of the hour we're going to switch over, and you don't want to miss it. So hit us up on the YouTube channel so that you can see it all. But how can I wholesale a deal to a traditional buyer? They have to be a cash buyer. Okay? They have to be a cash buyer. See, what happens is, here's what happens. So if they are getting a loan from a bank, the bank is going to look at that settlement statement. They're going to look at they're going to look at the contract. They're going to see they're not on a contract. They're getting assigned this contract. And the banks don't like that because the banks are saying, wait a second, this person got it at this price, but you're buying it for this price. We only want to lend on the original purchase price, and it's got to be you on that contract, so we're not going to lend on this property. So it's got to be a cash buyer. Now, what a lot of people are doing, because the markets are going bananas, right? There's not enough inventory. You can educate some agents on talking to their buyers about meeting with a private money lender, a hard money lender, a private money lender. I hate the name hard money lender. It sounds like they're like tough guys. Yeah, it sounds like they're dudes that like give you cash in a briefcase or something. It's not true. It's just they're, analytical dudes.
They're usually just kind of nerdy analytical guys.
They are. They're just dudes that raise money and lend it out at more than they raise. Let me explain private money. They bring in people, they give them 7 to 8%. They lend it to you and me at 10%. They make the difference. Arbitrage. Okay? They make the difference. That's what it is. And then they charge some fees up front, whether it be points or whatever else. That's their business. This isn't like, somebody's like, has a bunch of money that you have to like, convince them of or whatever. You got a deal. They want to lend on it. That's their business. They got to keep that money flowing all the time. So, Mr. Agent, talk to this private money lender. They can get your, if your buyers have some cash to put down, depending on the market, they can get them the cash that they need to purchase it, and then they refinance afterwards. Okay? But traditional buyers need to have cash. Great question. Instagram. Awesome.
This is super important because people get burned here. And so really, you're saying under no circumstance should you wholesale a deal to somebody using FHA, VA, USDA, conventional financing, because it will 100% blow up in their face.
Yep.
They got to buy with either cash or private money.
You got to buy with cash or private money to wholesale. Yep, absolutely. I mean, you can wholesale creative deals. You can wholesale sub-twos. You can wholesale seller financing deals. You can wholesale all those things. You can wholesale notes, right? But they still have to come in with cash. The traditional banks want to lend on just the traditional way, buyer to seller, okay? Or seller to buyer. There you go. Good questions, though. Really solid questions. Yep.
All right, we got another call coming in.
Another call. Who do we got? Bob, how are you, buddy?
Hey, Brent, what's up, man?
Hey, I'm excited to talk to you, Bob, from Baltimore. How are you?
You too, brother. I'm great, man. I just got a simple question for you. I'll
Sure.
make it quick because I got to go.
Okay.
I'll listen 'cause I'm driving now.
Okay.
I pulled over temporarily. And why isn't the 70% formula for flipping universal in all markets? Could you explain that to me?
Yeah, because there's different price points in different markets. You know what I mean? The 70% rule works pretty well if the properties are under, 200,000 once they're fixed up. Okay, 70% minus the fix up, you're pretty close. I think it's easier, Bob, to just go, if it's under 250,000, 50%. Just 50%. Just keep it
50%.
easy. If it's over 250, go 65%. And it just makes it a lot easier.
65%.
Yeah. Because remember, Bob, there's differences in construction costs around the country. It's a lot different building properties in LA than it is in Birmingham. You know what I mean? So
sure.
If you're looking for, just an easier rule, I like the 50 and 65% over 70% minus fix up, because what happens there is it almost makes you go too low. In a competitive market like we have now, if you go 70% on a $100,000 house, it's 70,000. Then you minus 40,000 for repairs, and now you're at 30,000. Now you got to build it in. You got to buy that thing for 20,000. When I can go in there and offer 30,000, sell it for 40,000, and do something interesting. So I just want to make you competitive.
So what was that again?
No, I just want to make you
50. It was
50%.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, 50% under 250. 65%
50% under 250.
Yeah, of ARV, of if it's totally fixed up, it's looking gorgeous. Then 65% if it is above that. All right.
Thanks, brother.
You got it. Thank you.
Hey, Brent.
All right.
Because we get a lot of calls about the 70% rule. Yeah. If the cash buyers are telling these guys and gals, hey, we only buy at 70%, what does that tell you about the cash buyer? I feel like in a lot of markets it just says they're new, they're inexperienced, because a lot of serious cash buyers are buying for more than 70%.
Yeah, what I would say is you are probably working with somebody that wants big spreads, and there's other people in the market. So as you build your cash buyer database bigger, you're going to get more opportunities. But if you're going to the same guys every single time, they're going to want bigger deals. They're just going to want bigger spreads.
Makes sense.
Above 250, 65%. And listen, this is the ARV. This is the fixed up value. That's it looking beautiful. All right? And this just makes it a lot easier. So what you can do is, if you want to know, the simplest thing to do, if you want to know if you've got a good opportunity, is go to Zillow, go to Redfin, go to Trulia, get all three of them, smoosh them together, add them together, divide it by 3. That's going to give you kind of a good idea of what that ARV is going to be. And then times that by 50% or 65%, and it's going to give you a good ballpark. Now, we break down a lot more. We break it down a lot more if you want to get real specific. But for the most part, that's going to that's going to help you out a lot. All right? We'll keep that up for now. Good. We are 9 minutes away from the top of the hour, and I am excited to bring these guys on to talk about mass media marketing. I think it's going to be it's really exciting. It really is. It's imagine being a celebrity instantly in your marketplace. Now, listen, is this probably for somebody? This is people that are further down the line or have a decent budget. But some people have a decent budget. They're finding this real estate business as a great opportunity. So make sure that you tune in. And if you're not there now, if you're just hustling, picking up, making calls like I did for years, fantastic. But remember, there's evolution. There's some ways to expand our business. So don't miss it. Just because it doesn't relate to you now doesn't mean that in 6 months, 9 months, a year, it doesn't relate to you. So make sure you stick around. All right. And make sure, guys, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, if you're getting value, make sure you subscribe. Subscribe to the channel. We come out with things every single day. We've come out with new, incredible videos every single day. Our whole goal is to give you the instruction and the motivation every single day. Every single day, because it's hard. It's hard to get our mind right. It's hard to surround ourselves with very successful real estate entrepreneurs. I want to be in your world, on your phone or on your computer screen or on your TV screen, so that you're getting that jolt and you know that I've got you, that I'm going to give you the instruction that you can follow. It doesn't matter if you don't take action on it. I'm going to give you all the instruction. Hit the subscribe button, hit that bell button, get that shot of energy every single day. And I'm telling you, it's going to help you. I know, and Mike, we did this for years. We would have Tony Robbins in the background. We'd have Mike Ferry in the background. We'd have Les Brown in the background. We'd have all these people that we were listening to all the time, whether it was driving or in the office or while we were prospecting. I mean, all the time, flooding our mind. You need to marinate your mind with this business. And I want to do that. Make sure you subscribe and hit that bell. All right? Boom. Brittany buys houses. I have elderly sellers in Houston selling vacant land in San Antonio. Great. Should I FedEx a contract with a prepaid return label? Do I send 2 contracts, 1 copy for them, 1 for me? Great question. I'm going to take it a step further and make you look like a pro, make you look like a superstar, make you look like you've got a bazillion-dollar business. I want you to Google mobile notary. Okay? Now listen. You don't need a notary stamp on these contracts. They're literally just going there to get it signed. But you have a professional notary that signs up, gets the contract signed, has a copy send 2 copies, right? Has a copy for them. Have that notary, and they all have it. They have scanners on their phones or in their cars or whatever, typically the phone. They'll scan it, get it to you. You open up escrow right away. That's what I would do. Because here's the thing. If you get the seller to commit, hey, listen, I'm going to send over the notary at 1:30. Does that work for you? Yes, that works for you. Now, you know at 1:30, they're going through that contract. You send that contract FedEx. Who knows when they open it? You know what I mean? They might not ever open it. Maybe they don't get it. Maybe they open it and they start reviewing it, and then their dog's barking. Something just crashed in their house. They're getting distracted. They're running all over. You know, the grandkids or their kids or their, whatever's going crazy, and then they're getting all, oh my gosh, and then their mind's not in the right place. But if they have an appointment with a professional mobile notary that shows up with a briefcase and they come in and they get that contract signed, woo, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I would do, and that's what we do with every single deal that we can't do electronic signatures with, is get out there, with the mobile notary.
Does it cost a lot for a mobile notary?
$75. I mean, it just depends. Some are 50, some are 75. Mobile notary, though, for sure.
That's totally worth it.
Totally worth it. Totally worth it. Yeah, absolutely. To know that your contract's going to get signed. And if they have questions, the notary calls you and says, hey, they've got a question on it, and you get to answer it right there, as opposed to them not asking the question and ghosting you for like 4 days because they want to do research on what the question is, or talk to an agent or talk to an attorney, which is fine. I mean, I encourage all that. But if they could just get the question answered right away, it makes the process go a lot smoother. Awesome. Woo! 19 Legacy. Look at him. I assume he's in the Navy. So I'm going to give first, thank you for your service. I closed an $8,000 deal virtually from connecting with an investor on Instagram. Deal was from text message. Boom. I feel like we're getting more of these guys. I feel like we're getting more and more people like closing deals. I love it. I love it. What do we got? Awesome. We are going to go in 4 minutes. We're going to be talking mass media marketing. It's going to be incredible. Invest in your future. Do you create an LLC in every state you wholesale? I haven't. That would be that's just me. I mean, I'm only in Arizona and a teeny bit in Florida. But I would talk to a CPA and get their advice on it, right? Because that's really what you're talking about. You're talking about is, the tax benefits of having an LLC with this income, right? So let's make sure that you talk to a CPA and get that all organized. And if they say to set it up, set it up. You know what I mean? If they want you to open up bank accounts or whatever else. Questions. Do we have anything else from Instagram? The Gambler, 210. Of the 4 pillars of pre-qualifying, are there any that could be flexible? I have a lead for a house that has an ARV of $775K, and the seller has a firm minimum of $550K. What sign tells me the lead? All right, well, first of all, the 4 pillars, they don't have to be flexible because it's just black and white, right? What is the condition of the property? That's what I would wonder, Gambler 210. Is what is the condition of that property? Go ahead, Mike.
You think that's Kenny Rogers?
It could be. The Gambler? Yeah, Kenny Rogers. It could be. In Incognito. Welcome. No, but what is the condition of that property? Because that's going to help determine if that $550 price is good, if you can get $775 out of it. But the numbers seem pretty good to me. I mean, what is that? $775 at 65%, Mike? It sounds pretty good. It just depends on the size of the house, the condition of the house. That's going to be a big factor. So make sure that you find out the condition so you know what the rehab budget is going to be, so you know how big of a deal and a lead you have. 65% is 503? Okay. So it just depends. I mean, if the property's in decent condition, that might be something. And it depends on what market you're in. That could be a 1,300 square foot house in California or Seattle, or Austin, or Boulder, or Miami, or New York, or DC. You know what I mean? That could be a tiny house that, you could fix up for 40 grand and it makes sense. So the numbers, the economics would work there. But if it's a big house and it's, 3,000-4,000 square feet and it was built in 1970 and it's just it's a maze to get through, that'll definitely affect it for sure. Good question though. You want to give me that one? Well, Chris is going to pop up here soon. There they are. Actually, let's get this thing going. Let's transfer this. Alexander, I promise I'll get to your question right after this. But this is exciting, guys. This is exciting. Look who I have here with me. It is the REI Radio Master, my good friend, the ultimate multiplier, Chris Arnold, and he has brought on This guy's going to blow your face off with what he talks about on how he gets deals and how he helps people get deals around the country. It is Tony Javier. Welcome, guys, to the live show. How are you?
What's going on, Brent?
I am excited. Chris,
My man.
Chris,
Hanging
good.
out with you, as always. Looking forward to it.
I love it. I love it. So we started this show out the last hour. We've been going hard at the different steps, the process of a wholesale deal, but it all starts with having a conversation, right? It all starts with having a quality conversation with a motivated property owner, right? And what we talked about, what is typical is you pull a bunch of lists, you get after it, you either mail them or you text them or you call them or you door knock them. But you guys are talking about something totally different, which is mass media, right? So Tony, give everybody a little bit of background on what you do and how you find deals and how many deals you find, because I think it's just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, so I'm the TV guy. So basically, I've been investing for 20 years now, and I am all about automation. I just love automation. I love things that are easy. I love things that I don't have to spend a lot of time on. That's why I only spend a few hours a week in my real estate investing business while I can focus on other opportunities. So 9 years ago, stumbled across TV. I was at a poker game or at a friend's house, and we had now it's a mutual friend, but he had someone there that was on TV, and I noticed him and I said, man, this guy's on TV. And I had this celebrity factor, kind of shock or whatever you want to call it. And it turned out to be a normal guy. So long story short, he's like, man, I'm crushing it on TV. I'm making, a couple $1 million a year on TV through my construction business. He's like, I think home buying would be great for that. So he gave me his media guy, called his media guy, and his media guy talked me through the whole process. He's like, yeah, let me get you some rates. Let me help you produce produce the commercial. I got the scripts together. I gave him all the images. I formatted and kind of did the side production. Long story short, got on TV within about 30 to 45 days, spent $3,000 my first month, popped a $35,000 deal my first month, and the rest was history. Over the last 9 years, it's been the most consistent lead source that I've had. Texting, cold calling, postcards, I've done all that, still do some of that, but it kind of goes in and out, it ebbs and flows. But TV has been consistent. It's built a brand for us in Wichita, Kansas, which is my main market.
Yep.
Now we're starting myself to do real estate commercials in other markets.
Love it.
And I am, as far as I know, the first real estate investor around the country that started doing TV commercials. And there aren't very many people doing TV commercials around the country, which makes it very little to no competition in most markets. And we are absolutely annihilating it. Last year, we did over 11 times return on our money with TV. And I spent less than 3 hours on TV the whole year. I shot 2 new commercials. I met with my media buyer a couple times. I basically spent no time on TV. The deals came in, my team put them under contract and did the deals. And it's very automated. So we can get deeper into this.
We will.
That's basically how it started, and that's how we got to where we are now.
But Chris, and this is right in your wheelhouse, right? Because you get the deals and you coach the deal, getting deals on radio. And people are like, well, radio's dead, TV's dead. Everybody has Hulu and Netflix and they have Spotify and they've got all these things. There's nobody listening and watching TV or traditional TV, but that's wrong. Tell me about that.
Completely wrong, because I can tell you that people confuse themselves as the demographic out there for sellers that are motivated, that want to sell under distressed situations. So, a lot of times people perceive their own behavior as the behavior of the market. So I'm like you, I can't tell you the last time I turned on to a regular television station. I got every app that's out there, HBO Max, Hulu, Netflix. And second to that, I can't tell you the last time I turned on the radio. I listen and have Spotify a lot, creating playlists, all that type of stuff. The problem is if I perceive that behavior is the behavior of the seller, and we know statistically across the board, east to west coast in the U.S., that our primary demographic is over the age of 55.
Right.
And that is true. It doesn't matter what state you're in. That is the primary demographic. And on top of that, you obviously now have the baby boomer generation. So that is a very big population that's going to need to get rid of properties. And they grew up doing two simple things. And again, we like to say that people change, but for the most part, as humans, right, we tend to get stuck in our ways. And they do two things. They still watch television.
Yep.
And when they get into the car, they tune it on to that type of music they grew up listening to, and they listen to the radio station. And then that's where the dots connect, Brent, right? Because it's like, if my target audience is over the age of 55, like TV and radio is one of the absolute best ways to get in front of them. They're not surfing the internet. Again, we have statistics now that they're starting to use YouTube a little bit more, but a lot of the PPC stuff, all that type of stuff, they don't do that. They're trying to still figure out how to utilize their iPhone a lot of times in a maximum way, but they're comfortable with TV and radio.
It's the demographics. 100%. I go to my parents' house, the TV's on, and it's like cable.
It's always on.
And I'm like, always on. Always on. You get in the car, there's no CDs. There's no like Bluetoothing. It's just like talk radio. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And I think that that's important distinction to make there, because who's the audience of people that have properties that have a lot of equity or have these older properties? It's typically people that are above that 55 age group. So Tony, talk to me about once you get going with this, let's say somebody commits to doing TV, how fast do they become a celebrity in their marketplace? You know what I mean?
Ooh, that's a good question. I love that question. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I have talked to a lot of people that have tried to get on TV. You know, people said, I've looked into it, I've reached out to my stations, all that kind of stuff. So the great thing about TV is there's a high barrier of entry, right? You have to know what stations to call. You have to know what scripts to put together. Even when you call the stations, you have to figure out what shows to be on. You have to know what pricing's good. You have to edit the commercial. You have to do the full production of the commercial. How does it feel? What is the number? What is like, you have all of these components, which makes it really hard for someone, even if you're high level, to get on TV. Because if you miss one or two of those components, it's not going to work, or it's going to be way too expensive. So the beautiful thing is we've tested this for 9 years, and we have a formula that works. We know what scripts to use. We know what stations to be on, what shows to be on. We've got a production team that can produce the commercials. So when we first launched, we could get someone on the air in about 3 weeks, that quick, 3 weeks. Whereas I've talked to a lot of people and they said, I spent 3 months trying to get on TV.
Right.
Reps wouldn't call me back. I tried to negotiate rates. When I tried to get what I wanted to, they didn't call me back. There's just all of these things that people have tried to go through to get on TV, which again makes it beautiful. So if you can get on TV, you're probably going to be one of the only people in your market on TV, because there's so many things to think about. Right now, we've onboarded a lot of people in the last 30 to 60 days. So right now we're saying about 30 to 45 days, we can get you on the air. We can get rates within a couple weeks. We can get scripts together and negotiate with the studio to give you time to shoot your commercial. It takes our production team, 3 to 7 days to turn around the footage and get it all together. So, we'd like to say 30 to 45. Really, we can do it in 3 to 4 weeks, but we say 30 to 45 because sometimes, there's just some things that we need to get from the investor that just takes a little bit of time.
And Chris, do you feel like
how long does it take to become a celebrity?
Yeah.
That was kind of the root. That's what I'm curious about, because I want to compare TV and radio here to what I know the answer to that. If someone is on television, at what point do people in that hometown start to look at them a little bit differently?
Well, let me give you an example. There's a guy in South Carolina. He'd been at his church for years and years and years, right? And his commercial aired. And within 30 days, he had people coming up to him, many people at church, and saying, I didn't realize what you did in real estate. And they just looked at him totally differently. And it just created a whole different feel of how he went to church. People conversate with him. They talk to him. And it's the same thing with me in Wichita. Like, I live in San Diego now, and I have my team in Wichita, Kansas. But when I go to Wichita, there's no time that I go to Wichita where I don't get, you're the real estate guy, you're the TV, that kind of thing. So within 30 days, like, people know who you are. Awesome. And treat you and act differently. And the same guy that I just mentioned to you told me that he was he got a call from someone that said, hey, I've got it was at least 5 postcards from different real estate investors. And I called you because I saw your face. I'd seen you before, and they acted like he'd been on TV for a long time, but he'd been on the air for less than 30 days. So it's an immediate reaction of people just looking at you differently, looking at your brand differently, and looking at your other marketing differently. Because had he not had TV, they may have called someone else from another postcard, or may not have called anybody at all.
Love it. Chris, what do you think is the overlap here between the people that, you work with on radio and TV? You know what I mean? Like, who is the right, fit for this? Who are the people that, what's the profile?
Investor?
Yeah.
Like the type of investor?
Yeah.
So I'll speak for radio, and then I'm going to let Tony answer that for TV. When we first came in and we launched radio, I will tell you that probably the majority of people said, well, this is for the seasoned person. And you automatically assume that, right? It's like, well, TV and radio is really kind of for the higher level investor. One of the biggest lessons I learned was that everyone was pretty wrong about that, because I would tell you that statistically about 80% of the students that go through our program have been in the business less than 12 to 24 months. Now, the reason that that's occurred, though, is I'd say a couple of things I've observed. Radio by nature is very inexpensive, and that's what people have overlooked. And so they automatically assume like, well, you got to spend like 10 grand a month to get up on radio. The average spend in REI radio across the board, and we're like in 45 out of 50 states at this point, so we have a lot of data. It ranges between $500 to $2,000 a month. So most people that are new can afford that, and they look at that and go, well, heck, I'm spending more or equal to that on direct mail. That's really not my thing. I don't like getting yelled at all day long. So I'm going to transition this money over to that, and it works. The other thing I have found is that there are investors that feel like, well, I have to do prospecting before I can do marketing. When I say prospecting, anything outbound, text blasts, RVM, et cetera. And what they go is that's not the best fit for me. Like, those things work for certain personalities, just like radio works for a different personality. And so I have a lot of new students come in and go, I tried those things and it's just not my style. It doesn't jive with my personality. And so they immediately jump over to the radio side because they feel like they have permission to step over that if inbound calls, doing outbound marketing is best for them. And so that's what I've observed. We got a lot of newer people.
Well, the interesting thing is you want to build credibility. You want to bake that into your business as you're starting out. It's pretty easy when they've seen you on TV or heard you on the radio, right? I mean, that's one of the
instant credibility is what we call it. Like,
yep.
People, here's the thing about people that are over the age of 55 as well. When it comes to these two mediums, there's an automatic trust factor. Here's what happens in their brain, right? I saw Tony on TV, therefore Tony must be seasoned. And on top of that, he must be an expert because only experts can get on TV.
Right.
And the same is true with radio. So you have to understand psychologically what's happening in the mind of the seller. So by the time you get to them, they already know you, like you, trust you. Just as Tony was telling the story earlier, like, it's like a podcast, Brent. You know what I'm saying? People have never met you, but they know you, right?
Yep.
And they know you, like you, trust you. You get the same, it's the same medium. It's mass media. The same happens with radio and TV.
Love it. Love it. And Tony, what is Chris kind of mentioned the 500 to 2,000 a month. Is that pretty similar for TV? Should it be a little bit more? Is it more expensive? If there's more to it, there's people watching this and listening to it and be like, yeah, that's great, but I'm sure it's like $15,000, $20,000, $50,000 a month. This is for like those big companies. This isn't for me in my market here in wherever, San Antonio. What does that look like? What's kind of like some expectations that we can set?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that's another reason that it's not a marketing medium that a lot of people look at because they think it's really expensive. And in fact, I just talked to a guy the other day. He was doing 100 deals a year when I met him about 5 years ago. He ended up transitioning to coaching. And I told him about my TV program. He's like, I never got on TV because I thought it would be like for, big players. And I'm like, you're doing 100 deals. You did 100 deals a year. Like, you could afford TV. And he's like, well, one of my competitors was on TV, but I thought it was out of my league. And I'm like, dude, there's someone in your market spending $6,000 a month that I have in your market. And he thought it would be 15, 20, 30 grand a month. Right. And so, that's a barrier of entry also, is the mentality. So with TV compared to radio, it's a little more expensive, but it's not nearly as expensive as you would think. I do have someone that is in Chris's program that did well with radio, came over and did TV. And he said, and I told him, I said, yeah, I'd probably recommend $3,000 a month minimum in your market. Well, he said, I want to spend $1,850 a month so I can compare it to radio that I'm spending $1,850 a month.
$1,800?
$1,850
not
a
18,000. Okay.
$1,850 a month. And in his first 2 months, spending $3,700, he got $80,000 back in return. And I think it's going to be more because some of those are rehabs. And as you guys know, rehabs are selling for $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 more than you think right now. So that is, on the very low end. So I only have a few people spending, $3,000 or less. I would say the average spend in most markets, small to mid-sized markets, is going to be around $4,000 to $5,000 a month, which, as Chris said, if you do a direct mail drop, $4,000 to $5,000 isn't going to get you a lot of direct mail. A lot of guys are doing $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 drops. So that can get you 2, 3, 4, 5 months worth of commercials sometimes.
Yep.
And you're reaching. So let me give you a statistic. When you drop direct mail and you hit 1,000 people, you're going to spend $350 if you send a postcard, 35 cents a postcard, give or take. Some people, maybe 40 cents. If you do TV to reach the same 1,000 people, guess how much that is?
No idea. $500.
$5 to $10.
Oh, wow.
$5 to $10 to reach 1,000 people. And the credibility factor is obviously 1,000 times more. So it's not nearly as expensive what you think. It's not quite as cheap as radio. It's just a little more expensive than radio.
love it. Well, the fact is, here in Phoenix, it's like $13,000 that you have to spend to get a deal from direct mail. It's like $15,000 for pay-per-click for websites. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot. It's a big, heavy. Now the deal size are great, but I think that this is just a brilliant way to open it up. If you are considering, hey, listen, I need to build credibility. I feel like I can do this. I can be in front of my audience. I can talk to them. I can be kind of a celebrity in the area that people know. They buy houses. Then all of a sudden, I could just see this, just going down, snowballing into all of a sudden people want you to speak on stage. All of a sudden people want to hear about what you got going on. All of a sudden people want to work for you that have experience because you're the guy or gal. That's really, really powerful. And what I've seen really, guys, is from the big national brands, the iBuyers, right? The Zillows and the OfferPad and Open Doors. There's not like a, hey, I'm your neighbor. I live down the street and I want to buy. You know what I mean? It's not like a personal touch. I think that this is way more community based, and people are going to get a feel for that, and you can really build up an incredible reputation if people see you enough. Yeah.
You said something interesting though, but ask this question: if you look at guys like OfferPad, et cetera, Open Door, these are organizations that have raised hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yep.
So where do you think they're putting their money with all of the data and all of the expertise that they have to play? They come in and they utilize radio, television, right? Obviously internet, PPC. But just step back and ask the obvious questions. Those guys are giants. They have access to teams and data far beyond what we are capable of. But you ask the question, why did they put their money there? Because it works.
Because it works.
Media is extremely powerful. And here's the thing, as Tony and we continue to exchange information on this, there's a force multiplier with radio and TV. Like, can you imagine what happens in the mind of a person that's in their house and they see a TV ad of an investor, right? And then they go get in the car and they tune on the radio and they hear, like, it's a done deal.
Yep.
Like, it's done. It's over. And so Tony and I really believe that, again, you kind of choose your path. Maybe TV is where you want to start, or radio. It doesn't matter. But the combination of these two things create a very strong force multiplier that fundamentally make your celebrity status even greater, your reach greater. They just come together and you get a multiplying effect with the two of them combined.
I love it. I love it. Anybody interested, Tony, in your TV coaching program, how do they find you?
You can go to realestatemasters.tv.com /Chris. That'll take you to a page that gives you more information about the program. You can go and apply. The thing about our program, kind of like Chris's, is there is market exclusivity. We've sold out a lot of markets, but we have markets available. So you can go there, apply realestatemasters.tv.com /Chris, and see if your market's available.
Awesome, guys. Any final thoughts? Anything? Any words of wisdom you want to give to this incredible audience that is just out there every single day hustling, and they got that fire in their belly, and they are working this thing like any other, just final thoughts?
Yeah, I'll throw one, and Tony can as well. I really believe, and I'll use Tim Ferriss, I think, that utilize this, that the majority is wrong. Whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it's time to pause and reflect. That's what Mark Twain said. So I can tell you, when you're in the grind and doing everything that you do, step back and take a look and go, am I grinding out here right now because I'm just in the herd with everyone else? And if you're on the side of the majority, I will tell you that a lot of times that's just where the consensus went. People follow people. This is why things get saturated. Step back and look for the outlier things.
Yep.
And again, this is beyond radio and television. It's everything in general. Always be looking for that outlier in left field, that anomaly that's over there playing by themselves, and everyone knows who they are and they're getting great results, but everyone's scared to walk away from the herd and go figure out why that guy's out in left field, or that girl is. So I think it's really important to understand that competition is not what you want. It's not a good thing. You are going to be more successful if you can play at a poker table that is much less crowded. Doesn't matter how much you grind. If it's oversaturated, competition is what's going to crush you at the end of the day. You don't want to be in a highly competitive environment.
Love it. Tony?
Yeah, I'll answer the question that you asked Chris, and the question of what kind of investor goes on radio, well, what kind of investor goes on TV. So when I launched the program, originally I was getting 50 wholesale deals a year kind of people, 100 wholesale deals. I've got a guy that's doing 200 deals a year. Those are the kinds that I started with, because those were the ones that were just reaching out, or that I knew that would be on TV.
Yep.
Well, I started getting applications from newer investors, and I'm very picky who I get into the program because I want to make sure they succeed. We have a 80% success rate of people getting returns on their investment within 30 to 60 days, right?
Yep.
So it's a very high success rate. And so I had a call with a guy a few months ago, and I almost canceled the call because he's like, I'm a new investor, done 0 deals, that kind of thing. But I took the call, and long story short, he was a college quarterback. There was like all kinds of things that were like, this guy is hustler. And he was like, dude, I want to do this program, get me in. So I was like, all right, dude, I'm going to get you in. Went into one of the most competitive markets in the US, and one of the most expensive, maybe the most expensive market. His first week on TV, he locked up 3 deals. He had been in 2 programs before that were taught him certain things, right?
Yep.
And got nothing out of it. Spent a bunch of money, spent a bunch of time, got on TV first week, locked up 3 deals. And I'm thinking, there are people that spend $50,000 to $75,000 sometimes on coaching programs and don't even get a lead out of it, right? They have to go fish for their own leads.
Yep.
Whereas ours is a fraction of the cost. So to answer your question on what kind of investor, it can be for Now, the new investors, I really want to make sure that they're set up. Like, I'm not just going to throw someone in there and be like, you've got to create all new systems and, or, I signed up a guy yesterday. He's done a few deals, but he's ran multi-million-dollar businesses, his own and other people. So it was like, okay, this guy I see can work the deal. So we can get newer investors into it if we feel like it's a right fit. Experienced investors, it's a no-brainer, because if they're doing direct mail, cold calling, all that kind of stuff, and then they go on TV, all that stuff is going to work so much better. Just like I told you with the guy that, got the deal from a postcard that he may not have gotten if he wasn't on TV.
For sure.
I probably have 100 other things I can add to that, but I'll go ahead and stop it there.
Guys, realestatemasters.com/Chris, CHRIS, Chris. Check it out. If you guys are interested in that, check that out and have that call with Tony and his team. Chris Arnold, you're the best. I love you. Thanks for being on here.
Thank you so much. Always an honor.
And Tony, we need to talk. So I will be calling you after this. But anyway, all right. Thank you guys for joining us, and that's fantastic. All right, there you go. Let's open this thing back up, guys, for questions or calls. 602-671-0147. I want to hear from you. 602-671-0147. If you can scroll that across, that would be great. Make sure, guys, if you have not, we've got an incredible database of resources and tools specifically designed to give you ridiculous amounts of value at ttpinsider.com. Do not sleep on this. ttpinsider.com. You know what the difference is between the people that are like superstars and people that are just average so far? They go to the TTP Insider. Yeah, that's it. No, it's true. It's honestly, it's got all the tools and downloads. I want to shave off a couple years of your learning curve at ttpinsider.com. So make sure that you check that out. A ton of resources and tools for your wholesaling and real estate investing business. All right, Alexander, closing on second deal next week for a $15K wholesale fee. Currently working in the Sacramento, California market. The market is insanely hot. Would you recommend going virtual and moving markets? First of all, there you go, Alexander. Congratulations. The question I would have is, you just closed a $15,000 deal in your market. I mean, rinse and repeat. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Now, the beautiful thing is, you can test. That's the beautiful thing about being proactive. You can test like that. If you want to test out a market, Alexander, pull 300 properties and start calling them and see what the response is. Start getting that feel. Is it a better conversation? Are there more opportunities? Is your pipeline of leads filling up faster in a different market, right? But brother, 15K second deal, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's got a lot of juice to squeeze out of that. So I like Sacramento. I think it's a fantastic market. It's a bigger market. There's a ton of older properties, which lends itself to renovation and updating. So I think that you've got a conveyor belt, an unlimited, just keeps going, of properties that need some love in your marketplace. And so I wouldn't abandon your process, but you can add to it by just testing out some other markets. Remember, test. Like anything that I'm telling you, this whole thing, test it. Test it. Now, these principles, these 17 steps to your wholesale deal, to every wholesale deal, I mean, that's just set in stone. You're just going to have to go through that. All right? That's what it is. That's why we put it together, so that you know what is the next step, right? Because if you know the next step, you're going to feel good. And if you feel good, you're going to take action. And if you take action, it is inevitable that you are going to find opportunities. Inevitable. You're going to. So, 17. Oh, look at this. Pop that thing on here. Look at this download. We literally just put this together. Wow, Jesse, crushed it. Alejandra crushed it. Thank you. Boom. There you go. There's the 17. Well, that's the first. There's 2 pages. All right. We'll try to fit that on one, but there's 2 pages. Download it, ttpinsider.com. Go through it. Boom, 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 boom. Start building your team as you start building that bank account, and then all of a sudden those little check marks, those little things, boom, 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 start becoming somebody else's responsibility, and you're growing a real business, and you're working on the business, not in the business, right? But I want to say something about that real quick before I get to this question. Remember, earn the right. You don't just wake up and you're like, I'm going to work on the business. You won't make any money. I'm telling you. You got to earn the right. You got to put in the work. You got to bring that income coming in. You got to build this machine with your hands and your phone and your voice and your enthusiasm and your energy and your schedule. And that is going to help you earn that right to work on your business instead of in your business. And don't pass that off too fast, because I want you to stay profitable. Remember, you got to set a goal on how much money you're going to take home every single month. And that should be a big number, because it takes a lot to pay off those debts, to buy assets, to build up some wealth, right? It takes a lot of income, and I want you to keep it, and I want you to stay lean, and I want you to just be absolutely incredible in your market. So work in your business until you know that you can make that transition and bring on trusted people to work with you and build those systems out. And then it's just crazy. Now, then it's just bananas. You bring the right people in, and you're rocking and rolling, and you are taking money home, and you're feeling good, and you don't feel the stress of all, consumer debt on your shoulders. Woo! Ha ha! Little Ric Flair. Woo! Here we go. Rhonda Thomas. Love you, Rhonda. Good to see you. Great supporter. I've always heard to take my deals to title. I'm in California and just learned we have both title and escrow. How do I handle this? It's the same company, Rhonda. It's the same company. So if they do title and escrow, they should do both. So escrow, title, sometimes it's kind of split up, and I'll just kind of explain that. Title is more, they make sure that they run the title reports to see who has ownership of this property, what liens need to be are on this property that need to be paid off. And then the escrow part is really just holding the money and being the middleman and being the bank in between the buyer and the seller. So just so everybody knows, when the seller goes, they're filling out their identity statement. They know that everything that's on this property, everything that's going on with this transaction, title company pulls. The escrow company, or the escrow part of it, which is the same building, same company, same organization, they're taking the earnest money and putting it into their account. Then they're taking the buyer's cash and putting it into their account. And then they're taking this from their account and they're paying off that mortgage. They're paying off that mechanics lien. They're paying off that tax lien. They're paying off that whatever, any other liens that they might have, IRS or whatever. They're paying all that off, and then the remainder goes to the seller. So they are critical, and you need to build them into your team, bake them into your team, because I'm telling you, they're a huge part of your success. Huge part. All right? Awesome. We have James from Delaware. James, Delaware. Wow. I feel fortunate. That's incredible. I don't think we've ever had a call from Delaware. This is great. James, how you doing, buddy?
Means a lot. It means a lot. I'm doing pretty all right. How you doing, Brent?
I'm excited. We're on fire today, brother. So talk to me. What do you got?
All right. So I'm starting from the ground. I skip traced lists. I used batch dialer for a month. Did around 600 calls every day at least.
Okay.
That takes me around 15,000 calls every month, and that's apparently the metric for the average deal to get to your first deal, cold calling.
Okay.
And I'm just in the phase right now. I'm working with a partner, but he's not calling with me. He's very smart. And he's a very good numbers guy, and that's his skill, and he just radiates the energy of an integrator. And me being a visionary, I'm obsessed with sales, I'm obsessed with marketing, and I want to do this for a while. How do I properly compensate, and how do we make this fair? Because I kind of do feel salty. Just, I'm doing all the mule work of the business.
How do what's the relationship, James? How do you know each other?
Oh, we're friends since we were like 11, 12. It's tough, sticky.
Fantastic. Well, here's the thing, James. You got to decide as soon as possible. Do you want in this business, do you want to take more money home for you and your family, or do you want to celebrate the building of this business with your buddy? That's what it is. Okay. Because the fact is, you will double your income if you do it yourself. The other thing is, money isn't everything. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, you could make all the money and feel good, but then all of a sudden, you're missing out on like somebody that's an important part of your life. You know what I mean? So if you do, if it is a true partnership, then you're just going to have to figure out if that works for you. Now, a couple different things that I would suggest, because I think that both you guys can grow it. And I think that you can say, listen, once we do 50 deals, once we do 30 deals, once we do 100 deals, let's sit down and have an honest conversation with each other. And just a business conversation. Let's just try our best not to bring in a lot of emotions, and just say, do we want to do this ourselves and build two businesses, or stay together? Okay? Because at that point, he knows the systems. He knows the lead generation. He knows how to get it. But then he can go off and running. So let me just kind of give you my personal experience. I had a phenomenal partner. His name was Dustin. Phenomenal integrator, way smarter than me, way more consistent and reliable, right? This guy we called him Daddy Dustin, right? Because he was just the most reliable. He had all the stuff, right? He was incredible. And we split up in 2017. We had been business partners for about 3 years. I was always the one hunting. He would sell the deal. And then I started coaching, and then things kind of got all over the place. And he has quadrupled the amount of money he has made. Okay? He has just gone bananas. He is wildly more successful by himself than he was with me. Okay? So, and vice versa. I mean, mine has gone, crazy as well. So I think that if you have that conversation, you say, okay, at 20 deals, we're going to look at this thing and decide. I think that that's the smartest way, because here's the thing, James, if you're already feeling like you're looking over your shoulder, and while you're making calls, he's at the beach or at the lake or on vacation or, doing research on where to go next, that's not a job. That's not a business partner. That's an employee. That's the problem. The problem is you gave half your company away for somebody that should just be a lead manager. And I pay my lead manager $20 an hour, $25 an hour. Anyway, but that's just the way it works. If you're starting to feel that way, then you need to communicate and just figure out, do you want to are you going to hit your financial goals in the time that you want, if you have a business partner?
For sure.
And
he's also
go ahead, James.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, he's also interested in being a long-term investor, holding properties and et cetera. His mindset is framed around ultimately being an investor, and I kind of radiate with that as well. Yeah. So I do think it could be a bit, but like you were saying, we just have to have a real conversation, the tough one. Just talk about what we long-term want and what are we willing to do right now, for it.
James, if you find the deal and you sell the deal and you're doing the customer service with the seller and the buyer and you're working with it and you get half of that, you're going to start getting bitter, bro. I am telling you, you just get bitter. You get bitter, and then it's almost like that girlfriend you don't want to break up with. You want them to break up with you. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden you start getting like kind of, shorter, or you're just, you complain more, or you're just not as peppy, and you're not like bringing all that energy, and it just feels awkward. It's a gross place to be. You know what I mean? It's just a gross place to be, and it just doesn't feel good. So I would say over communicate and just determine if you want to tie your goals into how much money you take home to you and your family and your goal and your real estate portfolio. And you are not responsible for his income. He's responsible. Your income is determined by the amount of value you provide to the marketplace. So if you're providing more, inevitably you guys will split up, and he's going to have to fend for himself. It's a lot easier if he's got enough runway and game plan to plan for that. If he's not willing to get on. That's why anybody, just to let you know, James, and we're kind of going along in this, but I think this is a great question. Anybody that joins my program that is partnered, and I don't care if they're husband and wife, but if they're buddies, if they're friends, if they're business partners, I say you both have to be hunting, or there's gonna be problems. Because if one person's hunting and the other one's gathering, there's gonna be problems. There's gonna be some friction there. So both of them, both of you should be hunting. Both of you should be calling. Both of you should be finding opportunities and converting those deals. What's that?
Thank you. Especially at this stage, I feel getting the ground running.
100%. If you're building as you're building this thing and he's not hunting, whoo, what are you doing? I mean, you're giving half away. You're giving half away. But if he's willing to hunt, then now we're talking. You know, if you want to settle this thing in, you guys are both willing to hunt and go out there and really make an impact. That's when things work, for sure.
Yep. Thank you so much, Brent. And shout out to you. Shout out to Steve Trang. I'm trying to be one of his 100 millionaires. You guys have meant so much to me these months. You guys have literally changed my life, the projection of my life. I love economics, and this seems a direct way to get into it. And I'm going to buy you a steak dinner one night.
I love it.
I got you guys. Thank you so
love
much.
it. I'm excited for that, James. Thank you. Thank you. And the truth is, I mean, nothing happens unless James is making those 15,000 calls, right? He's implementing. He's the hero of this thing. So I'll let a hero buy me a steak dinner. Little do you guys know, behind the scenes here, Jesse and Mike at 11 o'clock just ate a 2-pound bag of beef jerky, okay? They are drinking so much water back here because they have like 150 grams of salt inside of them right now.
It's not going to eat itself.
No, it's not going to eat itself. Yeah, you need to get a little snack here once you get up. So, yeah, there you go. We've got a lot of exciting things. Can we hit that fog machine? I want a little bit of fog in here. Make this exciting. There we go. 6K deal. Valentin, my man. Valentin is here in Phoenix, comes into the office frequently. He's like part of the team. We split deals together. Here we go. Valentin. I love it. And if people are wondering, what does he mean he got it from the MLS? He locked up a property that was listed on the market, whether it was listed for a while and he got it at a discount or he snatched it up fast. He got that property and he sold it. And, in our market, in Phoenix, if you can lock up a deal and put it in front of enough people, you're going to sell it, which is exciting. So, man, this is like Halloween. This is like a haunted house. This is incredible. So, who else has got some celebration? Who else has got this? Good. All right, Christian just locked up my first deal in South Texas. But I'm having trouble finding a cash buyer. Okay, so first of all, you need to it's go time now, brother. You need to reach out to anybody. You got to go to Zillow right now. Anybody that has a property that's listed that is a flip property. It's a flip because there's no shoes in the closet. There's no clothes in the closet. It's staged, it looks beautiful, and it's renovated. So I would talk to those agents all day long. I would be calling them, seeing if they're looking for more opportunities. Make sure that you pull your cash buyer list from PropStream. I'll show you where that's at. Make sure that you get that and you skip trace that and you start calling those people because, batch skip tracing now. Yeah, go ahead. Thank you, Daniel. Mm-hmm. Right here. Make sure that you go and Christian, go to that cash buyer pack in TTP Insider, cash buyer pack. Follow that, and you're going to be rocking and rolling. All right. We good? Yeah. Our whole system kind of wanted to mess with us this morning, so it's been interesting, but we have been rocking. I got a great team that is really doing some amazing things. So let's just say this is. I'm hearing myself here, man.
Anyway,
this is South Texas. I'm not exactly sure where. This looks like, I'll just put it in here. I'll just do whatever, Phoenix for now. But just use yours, right? And so we got Phoenix. We've got all these cash buyers. Boom. We got these cash buyers. And then you can filter these. Filter these for the people that bought in the last year or two. And just filter through them and see if it looks like these are, you can see these pictures. Are these properties that are really nice like this, that look very beautiful, or are these properties that need some love? You know what I mean? Are these properties that are already renovated? This is interesting, right? So this looks like a flip. We'd reach out to them and see if they would consider an offer. So that's how you get it sold. And get that cash buyer pack. Guys, all of these here, easy tool to use. And like, seriously, any serious investor has this tool, PropStream, ttpdata.com. Definitely check that out. So there you go. Awesome. And congratulations on signing it up. I'm going to ring this when you come on next week and you tell us that you got that deal sold, right? Because we got to make sure that we sell that deal to ring that bell. Go ahead, Mike.
He can pull those cash buyers, in the zip code or within like a mile radius. I mean, closer to where he's got the deal versus like a whole big city.
100%. Yeah, 100%. He could put that in and look specific first, because you know that they're looking for those properties, and then expand from there for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Jason, what do you think will happen to cold calling since mass text and RVM are dead? Sellers will drowning in cold calls now, and it may attract attention from the Traced Act. A little nervous. I'm not. I'm really not, Jason. I think that it's going to make us get really focused on the calls. I think a lot of people that are, a lot of the calls are coming from, they're coming all over the place, and a lot of people are hiring people to make their calls. And I think that if people can't relate to the person that they're talking to on the other line, they're going to hang up fast. Their numbers are going to be marked as a spam likely, and it's going to be tough for them to get as many opportunities. So I think if you're going hard at it, you're going to set yourself apart big time. And I think right now, Jason, you need to get laser focused on the worst of the worst properties in your marketplace. Okay? Because if you get after that, that is going to be where you're going to get the best deals and really make an impact, is laser focusing in on niche lists. It's not so much the wide, it's going narrow with people that are in distress. And the best way that we do it in our business is we use batch leads. Obviously, we do texting through them, but also batch leads stacks the list. We'll get into this in a future episode on stacking the list and what that looks like, both free and with a paid service. But basically, you're pulling in all these different lists, right? You're pulling in tired landlords and probates and pre-foreclosures and driving for dollars, and some of those overlap each other. And the ones that overlap are the ones that have multiple layers of distress. This is who you target the most, and that's what we've been doing, and it's just been absolutely incredible. And also, just check out last week's episode, the first hour with Evo, and kind of the right way to go about making your calls. Here it is. It was an incredible time. At 5 minutes and 59 seconds, we start talking about that. So break that down, 5 minutes, 59 seconds, and that's going to make you feel a lot more confident going out there. And listen, keep going. Just keep going. If you talk to enough people, you're going to win. If you can't talk to them, if you can't get them on the phone because they're not answering, go to their door. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to keep your budget down and you want to go out there and just earn these opportunities, you just got to be out there, right? Get out there, call them, knock on their doors, get in front of them, and you'll win.
And if he watches that, I think at 5 minutes and 30 seconds, he'll get to see us see Evo get got by the smoke machine.
Yeah. Evo got it.
Poor guy.
Yeah, he got the fog machine got him good. Well, he's like 6 foot, whatever, 5. Yeah, he's way taller than us. So, yeah, he got the smoke machine on him for sure. So guys, the 17 steps, literally the checklist, you got to get the checklist. You should use it every single time you're going through your deals. 17 steps, go through it, check it in order. Boom, 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 boom. You're going to feel a lot better. You can literally just use it as a cover sheet on any of your deals and just go through it, and you can track where you're at in the process. And if you can track where you're at in the process, it takes a lot of the brain power off. If it's on a piece of paper, if it's on this checklist, then you don't have to worry about it because you know where you're at. You don't have to put it in your memory and keep it in there. There's storage space here, right? We got RAM here. We got this thing going all the time. The longer that you're buffering thinking about your current deal, the less you're able to put that brain power and energy into getting more deals. Okay? So use the tools. Use the tools. That's what they're here for. Travis asks, would you recommend getting a real estate license even though it's not needed? I think this is an incredible question. One, I think that people are using this, Travis, not you. I know it's not you, Travis, but people are using this question to not do anything until they go to real estate school, to not do anything until they get their license. I think that you need to start taking action, building it up, start having these conversations with the distressed property owners. And then I mean, I have one. That's how I started out. But I think that there is going to be a huge, 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 huge opportunity for you to get referral fees to the tune of $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a month passively by turning over your leads that don't want to sell at a wholesale price, but do want to sell at a retail price. And you can get referral fees for those properties, which is really exciting. And you can't get those referral fees unless you have a real estate license. Okay. So, I mean, legally, and you don't want to, you're not going to build a pipeline where you're making $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a month without a license, doing it all below the table. And then something disrupts that. And all of a sudden that baller amount of money that you're putting into your checking account every month, all of a sudden disappears. You don't want that. You want sustainable revenue. You want sustainable income. Okay. And so do it by the book. Get a real estate license. I think a lot of the states are going to require them as time goes on. Maybe not for 10 years, but if you want to be doing this business for a long time, there's huge benefits to getting a real estate license, let alone listing your own properties, let alone having access to the MLS, let alone having an easier opening conversation with real estate agents in your market because you are licensed. It gives you some more credibility when you're speaking to those real estate agents. So before, for the last couple of years, I said, whatever, stay focused, just do your thing. I think more and more and more, the benefits of getting a license are outweighing the time and attention and cost to go to the school and pass the test and get your license. So it's not a huge hurdle to get over. You can knock it out. In Arizona, you could get a license in 12 days, something like that. 10 yeah, 10 minutes. You can find some schools that you can get to and go through. I think that they're doing more and more online, which is exciting. And I think it's going to outweigh it. I really do. It's more cost to get into it and go through the licensing. But I think it's you could build a really, really nice referral database. Right now, we're making about $10,000 a month from referring traditional business. And I can see that easily getting up to $20,000, $30,000 a month here in the next couple of years.
Because you're licensed,
yep.
Right? And then real quick, I think we should get like a shout out or a bell ring for our beef jerky, Jack Links.
Hey! We are not sponsored by Jack Links, okay? YouTube, you don't have to includes promotional items on here. They are not doing it. Okay. But if they want to talk, we will get paid in dehydrated meats. All right, here we go. Big Ant Gaming asks, how many hours should you be cold calling a day, and when should breaks be took? So I suggest 3 hours a day. If you have the time, I would suggest as much as you can. But I like building that up. Don't just Don't just jump into 3 hours a day. Build your endurance. Go for 10 minutes and stop. Take a break. Go for 15 minutes. Stop. Take a break. Go for 30 minutes. Stop. Take a break. Now, listen, if you've got experience being on the phones and you've done customer service or you've done calling for whatever, you've done different businesses or you've done a lot of prospecting, whether it be insurance or solar or auto industry, whatever it is, whatever you've done, if you've got experience doing it, then great, you can go. If you've got the endurance built up, but it's just like a marathon. You know what I mean? You don't start day one training for a marathon by running a marathon. You start out by running a couple miles, right? So just start out running a couple miles, big ant, and that'll start building up your endurance. And then you're at the point where once you can get an hour without stopping, you're in a different league, brother. And then from there, just building and building to get to that 3 hours. Remember, it takes about 20 hours to get a deal.
Just a quick stat for Big, who I assume is a gentleman. I just pulled this.
Right.
This is from Time, and it's a statistic that I guess men on average speak 7,000 words a day.
Yep.
Women speak like 20, so you got to build up that endurance, right?
Right. Yep. Got to build it up. And also, it's just the process of being ready when somebody answers and knowing what to say to them and knowing how to pre-qualify them and how to be present in the moment that you're having those conversations and not letting your mind just kind of wander and not being prepared, or even worse, having your reflex is they're going to say no every time and you're prepared for that. Go into every call assuming that they're going to say yes, and you're going to get a lot more results. Okay. That's really, really, really important. Make sure that you're going in there with the optimism and not just assuming that it's going to be a rough conversation or they've been called a bazillion times or whatever. I don't care. If they do, great. And I'm moving on. I'm just going through. Okay. Oh, I totally understand. That's annoying. A ton of calls. Yeah. I'm actually in the market. I'm actually buying here. I'm actually your neighbor. Do you have any properties that you would consider an offer on, something that maybe needs a little love, or even a piece of land, right? You start transitioning that if you're in the moment. You can be present and start, digging a little bit deeper than running into their force field and evaporating, which happens a lot. So make sure that you've got the scripts. TTP Insider has that. TTP Insider has a toolbox of incredible resources. Make sure you guys get in there for real. I mean, we wanted to give $100,000, $200,000 worth of value with, right away, just boom, get people going. And it's all right there. It's completely free. It's completely free, guys. But it's a must have if you are building your wholesaling and real estate investing business. Because listen, once you start wholesaling and finding the deals, you're off and running. That's the thing. You start with finding opportunities, and then you start closing deals, and then you start paying off your consumer debt, and then you start buying assets, and then your assets pay for your liabilities. This is like financial literacy 101. That is the process there. Get rid of the interest that is dragging you down, right? I mean, you can look up the statistics. It is absolutely incredible how much of our life, how much of American life is spent paying the interest of consumer debt. And that's what they call the financial slavery. It's in the book, Financial Matrix, right? We're stuck in the matrix where we can't get out of the matrix because of all we're working. We're providing value. We're getting income, and that income is going to the interest that we owe from consumer products. And it's just incredible. And I want everybody to break free of that, because you break free of that, holy cow. Now you're playing with house money. That's what I talk about when I say you're playing with house money. Now that money is going into your investments. Now that money is getting saved to buying things that you want to consume with cash, right? Was it Jay-Z? Who said, if you can't buy it twice, you can't afford it? I think it's Jay-Z, right? I mean, that's the absolute truth. But it starts with these really good habits. How are you gonna manage a portfolio of 12, 20, 50 rental properties if you've got consumer debt pulling you down? You're going to get cash flow from all of these investments that you've worked hard finding and working with and putting tenants in and fixing up and caring and putting love and energy into it. And then your return is you get to just put that money into somebody else's pocket through interest. Come on. We can do better. We can do a lot better, right? But it first starts with finding the opportunities, because finding the opportunities builds the income. That's the problem we solve. We solve that problem first. We bring the income in. We stay really diligent, really smart, really humble with the income that we have. We get out of consumer debt, and then we build, baby. We build and we build and we build, and we buy assets and we buy businesses and we buy opportunity. I mean, life is just incredible when you're out of the shadow of having to pay interest from the hard work that you're putting in. So I love you guys. Let me bring the team up. We're going to sign off here. Team, come on up. Thank you for your efforts today. I know it was kind of touch and go there, but it was incredible. On behalf of myself, Alejandra, Daniel, Mike Mahoney, Jesse Pearson, Matt Hill, we want to say we love you guys. We're here every Wednesday, and thank you for joining us. Now implement. Get the checklist, ttpinsider.com, and get after it. Start finding those opportunities. You're the best. You can do this. I love you. See ya.